Good evening once again and a very warm welcome to RwandaTV News with me, Ethan Tashovia. Start it off with the officials at the Rwanda Development Board who have noted that Gishwati Mukura National Park is a national asset because of the tourists it is able to attract. The park was recently listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Sejanore kicks off tonight's bulletin with this very report.
The dense forest of Gishwati Mukura has always been seen as a natural growing one with no need for conservation efforts, though they were began in 1970, but it continued to shrink due to human activities. In 2015, the Landscape Approach to Forest Reforestation and Conservation Project, or LAFREC, was launched, and 583 hectares of natural forest have now been restored at a cost of $9 million. We would go in to find things to sell before LAFREC was introduced. We basically did what we wanted with the forest because no one was protecting it. I was given pigs to rear and now have more than 10 at home. They were all given to me by the LAFREC project. Obviously, we won't just watch people go in to cut down trees or carry out other activities when we are being urged to protect our forests. We must protect the park. I have close to 3 hectares of my own trees, and I am doing all this for my children, though I will benefit too when the trees mature and it is time to sell them and get money. Quarry digging activities in the forest have also been banned, and affected areas have since recovered, though efforts to restore Gishwati have continued. More than 80,000 hectares of fresh trees have been planted, 754 cows and more than 3,500 smaller domestic livestock given to local communities around the forest, and terraces on close to 290 hectares of land prepared for them.
By applying what the project has taught them, they are able to continue protecting the river's banks, as well as the trees that have been planted along them. They protect the park from poachers on a daily basis, because living so close to the park is an advantage to them due to the benefits they derive from it when it is protected, that helps them to develop in their daily lives.
In the near future, we will begin receiving tourists, and when we do, like we said, local residents will get foreign currencies. Also, with RDB actively ensuring that the local residents benefit from the revenue generated from the parks through infrastructure development, people here will also get to share in that. Indeed, RDB officials are stressing that the park has a lot to offer its soon-to-be visitors.
It has chimpanzees, golden and blue monkeys, more than 160 different types of birds. Those include endemic ones you will find nowhere else. These must be protected so that they do not disappear completely. We intend to open the park up to tourists before the end of this year.
The Gishwati Mukura National Park currently covers 3,558 hectares of land and was added to the UNESCO World Heritage Site list on the 28th of October during this year of 2020.
Thank you, sir, for that report. Now, to tell us more about the listing of Gishwati Mukura National Park as a World Heritage Site and what this park offers, I'm joined on the phone call by Mashad Banamwana, who is the Acting Director General of Environment and Climate Change at the Ministry of Environment. Mashad, good evening. Hello, are you there? Banamwana, are you there? Good evening. Looks like we lost him. Hello? Well, unfortunately, we lost him, but we'll probably be trying to get him back on to tell us more about this development. Now, let's move on. It is now almost 9 months since the first COVID-19 case was identified in Rwanda, and experts have noted that after the country came out of its total lockdown, 38,757 people in the informal sector had permanently lost their jobs. The Rwanda Workers' Traders Union Confederation, Sestral, has confirmed that just 1.7 of the women and 4.6 of men in the informal sector were able to return to their jobs after a total lockdown ended. We have more.
For many people, the COVID-19 total lockdown meant much more than just staying at home bored.
My husband had a job, paid a monthly salary, and we had enough money. But we used it all up until nothing was left. When the lockdown was lifted, I had to send for help back home through my house girl.
Those in the informal sector say they also learned a bitter lesson. People were going to hair salons to get their hair done and attend things like parties. There is no point of getting dressed up just to stay in bed or walk around your neighborhood. People only looked good to meet up with others and socialize, and Corona came and stopped all that.
The lesson we have learned is that no matter how big your salary is, you are better off saving something.
Discussions have therefore been organized by concerned parties to address the many issues that the pandemic brought to light, and certain solutions have been proposed. We have realized that employees and employers do not hold dialogue. Also, neither employees nor employers have adopted a culture of saving, and we have also proposed that all employees are paid through bank accounts to encourage the practice of saving something. This whole fiasco showed that even our laws lack a provision for times like that are not ordinary. Most of those laid off because of the pandemic were fired in the private sector. Pertaining to contracts, things have been improving. We have organized discussions with employers and employees and included MIFOTRA, the Ministry of Public Service and Labor. After the country came out of its total lockdown, 38,757 people in the informal sector had permanently lost their jobs, and the Rwanda Workers' Trade Union Confederation, Sestral, has confirmed that just 1.7% of women and 4.6% of men in the informal sector were able to return to their former jobs after the total lockdown ended.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. Now, in other news, during his visit to Burera district, the Minister of Local Government, Professor Shaka Anastase, urged residents living close to the country's border to utilize and promote local products and services. Burera district residents have said that they will stop the habit of seeking things elsewhere when they can find them right here in Rwanda. Ghislaine Mugwaniza reports.
The local residents that live near the Rwanda-Uganda border are happy because they can now access a wide variety of goods and services here in Rwanda without having to cross the border into Uganda. As we live in sectors near the border, our market was located in Uganda. We used to find everything we needed there, but there is a difference today. The government of Rwanda, led by His Excellency Paul Kagame, has done a lot for us because they brought different services near. Now we have got stores and we manage to buy things without venturing into Uganda. Every month, 20 tons of made in Rwanda maize flour, 7 tons of rice and other food crops get delivered near the citizens' neighborhoods. Not only food crops but also other services have been brought near the local residents. We really appreciate the fact that we have schools now because our children used to study in Uganda. But now our children study here in Rwanda. Transport fares have reduced compared to how it used to be when they were studying far away. The Minister of Local Government, Professor Anastase Shaka, has visited different infrastructure projects in the district and asked Burera residents to support made in Rwanda products. The value of a Rwandan citizen is in his home as well as in valuing homemade products. It doesn't mean that those who cross the border didn't get what they wanted here. So they should bring back their eyes to their country. And they say that the habit has reduced. However, it is not yet where we want it to be. So the assignment we have today is to forge effective partnerships at different levels and with entrepreneurs.
n'ubwo.
Minister Anastase Shaka has also asked local officials to set strategies to fight smuggling, family disputes, malnutrition, domestic violence, and to promote personal hygiene and general cleanliness. This story was translated by Ghislaine Mugwaneza and read to you by Sarah Shinhore for Rwanda Television News.
Now, earlier on, we told you that officials at the Rwanda Development Board have noted that Gishwati-Mukura National Park is a national asset because of the tourists it is able to attract. The park was recently listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, joining us via phone call is Mashad Banamwana, who is the Acting Director General of the Environment and Climate Change at the Ministry of Environment. I hope you're able to hear me now.
Yes, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, let's take it off. What makes Gishwati-Mukura such unique forest landscape?
Thank you for the question. As you remember, Gishwati was the second natural reserve since the years 1950s, where it was the coverage was more than 200 kilometers. But as history of deforestation and the other land degradation process which was going on up to, which was culminated in almost total deforestation of the forest. But the effort of reforestation which started in early 2000, where Rwandan government, with support from African Development Bank and the World Bank in subsequently, just let that forest not disappearing completely. As it has been reported, we now have an area coverage of more than 3,500 hectares of natural forest, which is under protection, which harbors a number of endemic species, including chimpanzees and more than 100 species of birds and other monkeys. So that history of deforestation and coupled with the restoration effort that made a unique recognition from UNESCO just as one of the area which is now being recognized as natural beauty at the international level. So that's what I could say is in terms of previous deforestation and the kind of destruction coupled with a powerful engagement of restoration and preservation of this natural beauty of Gishwati and Mukura. Thank you.
Yes. So we also saw the launch of a structure recently. Can we say the park is now ready? Has it started receiving visitors? Is it ready to receive visitors? And what are some of other structures that you're planning to set up in the park?
I'd say efforts are underway to make sure that all the preliminary guidelines are put in place. From even the RDB, which is in charge of tourism and hospitality matters, they confirmed that the park would be ready by the end of this year. But for receiving tourism, I think we are in the process of making sure that the park could be ready by the end of this year.
So the message, I guess, to the public is to start visiting the park very soon when it's ready, right?
All the instruction will be provided by the institution in charge, which is RDB. I'm not speaking on behalf, but I'm sure that they are working hard to make sure that also this natural beauty would be visited and trying to share all its history to the national citizen as well as international community.
Mashad Bonamano, the Acting Director General of Environment and Climate Change at the Ministry of Environment. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good evening. Bye. Good evening. Moving on, as the world marks Diabetes Day, people living with diabetes attest to the role of regular screening and treatment for complications as a key to good and long life. We have more. 37-year-old Kwizera Theogene, a resident of Muyumbu sector in Wamagana district, has been living with diabetes for the last 3 years. At first, he interpreted the illness wrongly until the health condition deteriorated. I thought I had abdominal infections because I was losing a lot of weight. I would get thirst quite often and started drinking a lot of water. When I visited the hospital, I was told that I had diabetes. I started treatment immediately. I would encourage people to go for regular screening to know their status in real time. Kwizera says that regular treatment and following guidelines of health professionals has kept him going. Currently, I take injectable insulin in the morning and evening, and I avoid sugar. I eat vegetables mostly. I do not drink alcohol. Medication also requires taking enough rest and being free from stress because it can raise blood sugar. People are encouraged to quit smoking, cut sugar and redefined carbohydrates from their diet, work out regularly, drink water as a primary beverage, lose weight if one is overweight or obese, and avoid sedentary behaviors to reduce chances of contracting diabetes. According to the study conducted by the Rwanda Biomedical Center (RBC) in 2015, about 3% of Rwanda's population was diabetic. That is about 200,000 people. While this disease contributes to 2% of the mortality rate in Rwanda. Simon Pierre Niyonsenga, the director of diabetes and other non-communicable diseases at RBC, says that people living with diabetes cut across all age groups, despite being prevalent among people over the age of 60. Diabetes is becoming more prevalent and cases are increasing over time due to the increased sedentary living behaviors. Someone to avoid it, they must do body exercise at least 30 minutes every day. Avoid drinking alcohol and smoking. The other thing is to encourage people to eat well. Fruits and vegetables are recommended. We encourage people to do medical screening regularly to know their status. Niyonsenga also urges people living with diabetes to be extra cautious, especially now during COVID-19 pandemic. Many people have contracted COVID-19, while a big number of people who have been killed by this virus are diabetic. We encourage them to be cautious and take precautionary health measures to stay safe because they are likely to be highly infected by COVID-19, let alone losing their lives. The theme for this year's World Diabetes Day is Nurses and Diabetes. The campaign aims to raise awareness around the crucial role that nurses play in supporting people living with diabetes. Nurses currently account for half of the global health workforce. According to the World Health Organization, 6% of the world's population has diabetes. In 2019, 463 million adults were living with diabetes. 1 in 2 adults with diabetes remain undiagnosed. Majority of people have type 2 diabetes. 3 in 4 people with diabetes reside in low and middle income countries. 1 in 5 people with diabetes are above the age of 65, while every 10 seconds, 1 person dies of diabetes. That's the reality. Stay well and stay safe indeed. In other news, the Rwanda Environment Management Authority, REMA, has said that in collaboration with other authorities, it has taken measures to deal with miners that do not comply with the rules and regulations to preserve the environment. Ghislaine Mugwaneza has more.
In places where mining activities have taken place and then ceased, left wide open in the ground, local residents stress that improper mining practices negatively affect their lives.
Once they get done with mining activities, they can think of sealing up the hole and this triggers flash floods that damage the area. Another thing is that when there is water inside the mine, mosquitoes, frogs and animals die and rot in there. If the miners really have mining licenses, they should remember to seal where they have dug, and the government should check if the area has been cleared.
Jean-Malik Kalima, the chairman of Rwanda Mining Association, has noted that they always remind people in the mining sector to follow the rules and regulations.
We always check and advise people to seal the hole after doing mining. Not all of them are capable of doing that because it requires money, but we are encouraging them to do it, and there is an advisory committee in partnership with the Rwanda Mines Petroleum and Gas Board. We call anyone that did not respect the rules and regulations in mining sector and talk to them.
Rachel Tushabe, the Director for Environmental Education and Mainstreaming at REMA, has noted that a lot has changed in the mining sector with the help of different officials. There is a committee that sits and chooses who should be given a mining license, which did not happen before. People used to ask for permission to do mining, and 2 people checked their documents and then gave permission for them to go ahead. But now there is a committee in charge that is made up of people from different institutions that sits and decides who should be given a license. When do follow up and find that they do not meet the requirements, their license get cancelled and they also get fined. A report from the Rwanda Mines Petroleum and Gas Board in August this year showed that 40 mining accidents had occurred during this year until that time, and claiming the lives of 46 people.
Thank you, Zujran, for that report. Residents of Rwanda district have welcomed the establishment of electronic waste collection and disposal facility in the area. This is in line with the government's move to reduce electronic waste, which contributes between 10 to 15,000 tons of e-waste pollutants. We have the details. The Rubavu-based electronic waste collection and disposal facility has the capacity to receive 25 tons of e-waste. It is located next to the busy cross-border Gisenyi market. Traders in Gisenyi market and neighboring areas say that this facility will reduce e-waste pollution in the area. We will no longer mix e-waste with other waste collected from households to be disposed at Rutagara dumping site. We will be disposing e-waste at the new e-waste collection facility for recycling. Mbera Olivier, the country general manager of EnviroServe Rwanda, a private company dedicated to e-waste recycling, says they will be paying people who will deposit electronic waste at the facility as one of the ways to encourage e-waste disposal and reduce e-waste pollution. People will not be charged for disposing e-waste in this facility. However, we shall be paying some people who will dispose unique e-waste material which are highly recyclable. Broken bulbs will not be paid for, but if one disposes old phones and other broken precious gadgets, they will be paid. Charles Gahungu, the general manager in charge of ICT at Rura, said that they are ready to issue licenses to anyone who wants to deal in e-waste collection and management. Rura will issue licenses to anyone dealing in e-waste in various categories, from collection facilities to those dealing in e-waste recycling and e-waste redevelopment factories. It is estimated that Rwanda generates 10,000 tons of e-waste every year. Many thanks for your company tonight. Now I want to remind you that up next is RTV Moto, so do not go away. Stay around and shake off the week that we've just had. Otherwise, from me and the entire news team, many thanks, and stay well and safe because COVID-19 is still here. I'm RwandaTV. Bye for now.